Hi, this is Brian with BC Gurus, and this is part 3 of the Web Pages module covering the BC Content Editor. The Content Editor is a great tool for your clients, but if you don't follow some best practices in how you build your templates and how you lay out your pages, you're going to make it a lot harder on your clients than it needs to be, and you're going to increase the risk that they're going to break your layouts. So in this video, we're going to talk about the capabilities of the Content Editor and where your clients are going to run into trouble and how to avoid that trouble if possible. This is the content editor for a BC web page. It's just a generic test page, but I'm going to go over real quick the capabilities of the content editor. Using this content editor, your clients can be able to do a lot of things to their web page. They can add modules using this button here or this blue plus here. They can insert images. They can insert tables. They can strip formatting or CSS. They can work with links here. They can make bold text, italic text, underline. They can align things. They can indent or outdent things. They can make numbered lists, bulleted lists, change the foreground color. They can change background color. They can select certain tags to surround text like paragraph, H1, H2. They can change the font size, and if it's enabled in your template, they can apply CSS classes. All of these icons here have to do with cut and paste, and if someone just pastes normally or uses Control V or Command V, by default it's going to paste from Word, which means if they've typed something up and formatted it in Microsoft Word, it's going to try to strip all that extra code that Word's going to put in the page, which is going to make the page heavy on unnecessary code, hard to edit in the future, and it's going to be inconsistent with the other pages you've designed. A lot of these things your client shouldn't really need to use. So for example, when you design the templates and you build their website and you have a CSS style sheet that controls the design of all the elements, for example the H1 tag, the paragraphs, what bold text looks like, H2 tag, all these things are controlled in the design that you've created. So the idea that the customer needs to go in here and change fonts and font sizes is really just a way for them to mess up the design and the look and feel that you've given their website. And again, that's because things like font size, font color, they're already part of the design that you worked hard to create and make sure it was consistent with their branding and that it was going to be a great looking website. The things the client should be worried about when they're building this page are much more structural. It's things like the H1 and the P tags, which is all controlled through this drop down here. Numbered and unordered lists. They need to be able to insert images and create hyperlinks and make bold text, but they don't need to worry about how that H1 tag is styled or how the font size of the P tag is. Those are things that are already built into the design. The way you're going to manage this and make sure your clients aren't creating pages that are just a mess is partly by training your client on using the editor and partly by controlling what options are available to them here. You can modify this through your partner portal, and we're going to go over that in a little bit. The next thing you can do to make sure your clients don't run into trouble when they're using this editor is to make sure there's not excess of HTML or modules in the code within this editor. So what I mean by that is you want to make sure you don't have things like divs and content holders and modules in the code so that makes up this area. So we look at the HTML view. This is ideally what you want. You can see that all we have is a H1 tag. There's no style code in here. There's a P tag, strong tag, H2, another P tag, header 3, and an unordered list. Now these are all basic typography things, and there is in the template going to be a block element or a div surrounding this code, but you don't want that div to be in the content editor because it's too easy for the customer to delete it or edit it. You definitely don't want to do things like try to have 2 columns. You want to keep it nice and simple, and the idea is to try to make it impossible for the customer to break this code. There are some exceptions when you need a module in the page, like a form module might be at the bottom of the page, or you might have to have a content holder for some reason. If there is an exception and you have to have the module in the page, then just make sure you train the client on what to edit and what not to edit, so that they're not deleting that module or changing something that's going to cause the module to not work anymore. We already looked at the HTML view, but one tip, your clients should not normally need to be in the HTML view editing things. They're not going to work in here too often unless they have knowledge of HTML. But there are times when they will need to. So for example, if they want to add a YouTube video to this page, they can't add embed code of any kind through this design view. So what I usually tell clients is to create a placeholder where they want the video to be, because if they look at the code view, depending on how complex the page is, it might be confusing and they might not know where to place the code here. So I'll tell them, let's say they want the video to be here under the header 2 and the paragraph. I would tell them create a placeholder, something like this, and they want it to be something that they can't miss. So I would say like video and then maybe put a bunch of slashes, because that's going to be very apparent in the code. Then when they come over here, they can see right here is where they want to embed that video code. So it makes it very easy for them to work in the HTML and not break the page. And you just want to make sure, tell them just replace your placeholder that you made with the video code and don't edit anything else. And then when they switch back here to design view, they'll be able to see their video in the correct place. Lastly, if you log into your partner portal and click Tools, then click Online Editor Settings, you get some good features to help you modify what's available to your customers. So if you uncheck any of these boxes and then click Save, that ability in the content editor is not going to be available anymore. You can also manage what CSS classes and IDs are available in the Apply CSS drop-down. And an important one under Other Settings, you'll want to uncheck this to make sure that when your client presses Enter in the content editor, it actually wraps those paragraphs with p tags instead of using break tags.